I'd like to call to order the October 25th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. I'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Meredith?
Here.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Grott?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Apone?
Here.
Mr. Larray?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda.
So move.
Support. It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion carries. Next item is approval of the minutes from the October 11th meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This evening, we have three items, all that have been before this body before in several forms, I think most recently public hearings on all these items. I know there are a lot of folks in the audience and have an interest in one or more of these issues. There won't be, the public comment opportunity for this meeting is at the end of the meeting. But I do want everyone to know that we've received multiple pieces of correspondence from many people, like hundreds, on various issues. The board all received them in advance and has reviewed them. We took great interest in previous public hearings on the issues that were created. Now we'll continue that next step of addressing the issues that were raised at those that for some reason action wasn't taken and they were postponed. We will address those. The petitioner and township staff will respond. Then we will ask questions and we will render our recommendation. Ultimately, on all three of these cases will go to the Board of Trustees, and to which there will be another opportunity for public comment on as they consider it. But in terms of our process, that's how we will proceed this evening. Having said that, the first item is conditional rezoning petition number 05-20, site plan number 20-22, Pashko Joke, close.
Good evening. My name is Bill Thompson, representing Mr. Joke this evening.
And your address?
17001 19 Mile Road, Clinton Township, Michigan, 48035, excuse me. Okay, this parcel is located on Willow Ray, just east of Van Dyke. You can see the zoning on the property is partially commercial and partially single family. The parcel in the past was part of, was owned by the Road Commission. They had their major yard in this area was on Van Dyke. They had truck storage and vehicle storage and material storage on this particular piece. You can see from the aerial that, and this was a 2020 aerial, it's a lot cleaner now than it was when the Road Commission was there. The proposal is to rezone it to R2 so they can put duplex housing on it. Look at 24 units on a 28-foot wide road. There will be a turnaround in the middle for the fire department so they can make their, any emergency vehicles can turn. This is a copy of the landscape plan. We show that at the dead-end terminuses, there's landscaping to shield adjacent houses. There's trees planted behind the houses and also in the front yards. This is a typical building to be put on the site. They are duplexes, about 1,200, 1,300 square feet. The facades can vary from building to building, but basically it's one building with different facades.
But that's the material that your client's proposing? Like a sort of vinyl?
No, it can go brick, it can go. If you specify brick halfway up, you know, for the first floor, that's fine, that can be done.
Okay.
These are typical floor plans. There's one car garage, one car parking in the driveway. And the upper story is a master bedroom suite and 2 extra bedrooms. That's about it.
That's what you got? All right, so there were a number of issues that were raised at the previous time.
Yes.
Are you prepared to address any of those, or should I have the
We'll address
planner?
them.
What's that?
We're willing to address them.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the requests was for a Phase 1 environmental survey. That was done. It was included with the submittal. It was all 352 pages of it. It addressed the problems that the road commission had there with a leaky storage tank. It raised questions about other storage tanks being on site, but there was never any question about their leaking or anything like that. A Phase 2 environmental could be done if you wish. Other than that, that's about it.
So that was your takeaway, your client's takeaway from the last time that they addressed this body, that was the only issue that we had questions about?
Not the only one, but
That's the only one he's addressed? They have
well,
addressed?
the site will require underground detention or a detention pond with a pump, depending on how we work it out with the engineer. Water main exists on Willow Ray. We'll have to go across Van Dyke to pick up the sanitary sewer to bring it through to the site. So we have utilities on site. The R2 zoning gives us a density that we show.
Okay, I'm going to ask the planner to offer her memory of what issues that we may believe are still outstanding.
Thank you, Mr. Moffett. So first and foremost, I wanted to thank Mr. Thompson on that report for the environmental review. It was over 300 pages, and that's been submitted to our engineer for review. But some of the other items have not been addressed from the first time around. So I'm going to start off with the moderate density residential strategy. This certainly is a downgrade from the current zoning of the property. It is zoned commercial and single-family residential, so a rezoning to duplexes or R2 would not be unreasonable. However, I believe the site of 2 acres and 24 units is pretty aggressive. And there are some items that were still outstanding as far as the open space and recreation area required for the duplexes, which is a minimum of 400 square feet per 2-bedroom unit that equates to 9,600 square feet of open space or recreation area. So that was not designated on the plans. Interior setbacks and separation, the multiple family districts apply to this, and that has not been met. Perimeter, rear yard, and setback is 50 feet. The Planning Commission has the opportunity to modify this down to 25 feet if they so choose to. Screening and landscaping was another major issue. So major one screening is required along the west property line, along with minor screening along the east property line because of the single-family residential to the east there. And also moderate screening is required on the north end of the site where the road, I believe they took down the photo, but anyway, where the road ends and it abuts the single-family residential to the north. So there's off-street parking requirements for this development as well that requires 2 1/4 off-street parking spaces for each 2 or more bedroom unit. So I did not see any other parking spaces for guest parking or anything of that matter. So another question we had is if the duplexes will have basements. I don't know if that's been addressed or not. I think that's going to require that you provide 50% or more of the dwellings located in the general vicinity, which is greater, requires 100 square feet of floor area for utility rooms. And I didn't see any utility rooms in that. In those plans as well. Another thing I also wanted to mention is a brick requirement all the way on the 4 sides of the first floor of the buildings as well. So those are all things that have been brought up. A master deed and bylaws will be required at final review. And I think the rest of the comments are pretty standard. But like I said, I don't have a problem with this plan. I think it's aggressive. I think we need to meet all these requirements in the zoning ordinance the best that we can. But again, I think it's not, I think R2 would be appropriate for this site.
Okay, thank you. I'll sort of maybe state it a little firmer on sort of the elevations. I think just not putting brick on, what looks limited, given the design of it, may not accomplish exactly it. Sort of the elevation and look that would be appropriate for the area, too. But I'm going to open it to my colleagues to see if they have any questions for the petitioner or for the planner.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Thompson, can you explain to me the logic behind the layout of the roads? Because to me, it looks rather bizarre, and it also looks like you're trying to pack as many buildings as possible on this parcel. I do agree R2 may work, but can you just explain this setup for me? Because I've never seen something quite like this.
It's a long, narrow piece,
Well, that's true.
too, okay? Trying to satisfy all the setback requirements is virtually impossible.
Well, I don't know about that. You're not the first developer that's come up here and say, we're trying to meet the setback and everything requirements. There's no way for fire trucks to turn around in this parcel if there's a fire in the back of the lot. You've got a strange dead-end road that separates each 12 units. I don't, like I said, it's rather bizarre. I'm just wondering what your rationale is for the layout.
On that particular item, that road in the middle is the fire department turnaround. The fire department wants anything, they don't want a dead end longer than, I think, 250 feet. And they need to have 60 foot each way for a turnaround. It's not possible to do that at the north end, because if you put in L-shaped turnaround, you don't have a place for them to back up. About the only place we could put it is someplace in the middle.
Well, you could put a cul-de-sac and take a building out.
Well, you
That's an
take
option.
If you put a cul-de-sac in, you take 2 buildings out.
Okay, then you take 2 buildings out. But what I do agree R2 may work, but I am not, definitely, this has a long way to go to get from where we're at to where I think you want to be. It's definitely where we want to be. That's just my opinion, but, so I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else wish to comment?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Grott.
I do agree with our planner that kind of layout you got, it's too aggressive. It's way too aggressive. The density is way too high. I guess you got a distance of 10 feet between your buildings.
Correct.
So with commercial lawnmower, you can't even fit between those 2 buildings to cut the grass. Do you?
With a zero turn, you can,
With the
easily.
zero, yeah. Now, well, not everybody can afford zero turn.
Okay.
But screening and landscaping, I see none of that. You did not provide any of that with your plans. So, Mr. Chairman, I cannot vote for it the way it is. However, I would support to postpone it, and if Mr. Thompson addresses those issues that I raised, I'll be more than happy to look at it again.
Okay. Anyone else wish to comment or make a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I'll make a motion to postpone conditional rezoning petition number 5-20 and site plan number 20-22 for Pashko Gojaj to be rezoned from C2 retail business local and R1B 1-family residential to R2 2-family residential in order to give the applicant an opportunity to address the department and engineer's site plan comments.
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by Moore. I'm going to support this motion, but probably the last time I'm going to support a motion to postpone this. I think we've been real clear as to what issues need to be addressed with this site plan and
That's
what's
fine.
deficient on the site plan. If you to come back again with, really frankly, not addressing a lot of the major, not the environmental, but that was whether you could, however, anyone could use that property or not, and that needed to be done. But for this use, I think what's been made very clear, and if there's any doubt, Ms. Misich is easy to get a hold of, but before we see
Yes,
you
she
again,
is.
all that stuff has got to get taken care of.
Okay.
And that was support by, motion by Turner, support by Moore. If anyone else wants to hop onto a soapbox, they're more than free to do. If not, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner LeRae?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank
All
you
right,
for your
good
time
luck.
this evening.
Next item is conditional rezoning petition number 01-20 and site plan number 21-06, Damiano Di Mercurio.
Tom Schmittero, attorney for Damiano Di Mercurio. My address is 42850 Garfield, Suite 104, Clinton Township, Michigan. We've been here 3 times prior on this application for conditional rezoning. I was present at each one of those. I listened to all of the comments from the people. We listened to the comments from the board. And we've postponed the last one to make changes to improve what we did. We started with a 30-unit multiple. Our application now is for a single family, 16 units. We've addressed the engineering issue with the detention pond, where it doesn't interfere with anybody's basement. It's in the back area. We've widened the distance between the side yard setbacks. We've taken into consideration the integrity of the neighborhoods around us. We've made a search the neighborhoods. We checked at the state equalized value of all the homes. The homes that we're going to put in are going to be starting at $460,000, which is substantially higher than the state equalized values of all of the homes around us. We've reviewed with my client and the engineer all of the site plan comments. We're able to abide by all of those, and we will abide by all of those comments in the application and the comments of the site plan comments. Mr. Bill Thompson's also here to answer any engineering questions that you may have.
Okay. One question that has come up, if the retention pond or detention pond isn't sufficient, is your client willing to forego units to expand it to accommodate? Or is he aware that that may be an issue? That may be a requirement of engineering, when it gets to engineering?
Let me ask the engineer. I thought the site plan, we've checked it out and it is sufficient, but
Well, it hasn't been engineered, so, I mean, it's what you believe it to be.
The pond does meet the township requirements.
It does meet the township
yes, it does.
requirements, okay. I'd heard that may not have been the case, but,
okay, we'll take it from here.
Okay, again, this has been in front of the planning commission previously a couple
why
of
don't you,
times.
again,
Excuse me?
I'm getting older, my memory isn't as good,
Okay.
so you're gonna need to
Bill
introduce
Thompson from
yourself again.
Lehner Associates.
Thank you.
1700 119 Mile Road, Clinton Township. The site is located, get back up here. Site's located on the east side of Van Dyke again, between 25 and 26 Mile Road. It sits behind an existing commercial site. It was developed a couple of years ago. The area you see is a 2020 aerial showing the existing site before it's occupied. The detention basin as it exists right now is a long strip along the north property line. The proposal is to put 16 single-family units. We have to reconfigure the detention basin. We have a hammerhead turnaround for the fire department at the far eastern end. The road will be 28-foot wide concrete paving. It's a regular county road. We have 3 different houses that they plan on putting on site. They will all be brick on the bottom half, at least the bottom half. They have different floor plans and different elevations. Each one of the 3 units has variations on the elevations, so there could be some repetition among the 16 units, but not very much.
What are the square footages on those?
Excuse me?
What were the square footages?
I'm sorry?
The square footage of the building?
2,000, 2,500, someplace in that range.
Thank you.
The builder says 2,500. Okay. The landscape plan, which it doesn't show when they're, it doesn't show clearly anyway. The perimeter of the site is fully landscaped, arborvitaes and mixed evergreens. There's a frontage tree on every lot. One of the comments from the planner was recreation area, but to the west or to the left-hand side of the buildings, there's adequate land there to provide the recreation, 6,400 square feet that's required. I'd be willing to answer any other questions you might have. I know the planner had several comments, but each one of those we can address.
What were the ranges in the widths of those lots? They're all over 55s?
55, I think, to 57.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. To the planner.
Thank you, Chairman Moffett. So we've come a long way with this site plan as well, and we've reviewed it numerous times. The petitioner is asking for an R4 zoning, which would mean 4 units per acre, and that would give them approximately 20 units. They are proposing 16 units at this time. As you said, the lots ranges from 55 feet to 57 feet. They pretty much meet all the zoning ordinance requirements for the R4 zoning district. As far as the recreation areas go, I know that they had a significant amount of recreation space. We just needed that calculation there on the site plan. They meet the 50-foot perimeter setback except on the west property line. But again, there's sufficient amount of room there to install the landscaping to address that comment. As far as the designation goes for the R4 zoning district, they still do have to comply with the multiple family zoning district, and that's a more restrictive ordinance than it would be as if it were developed as a site condo unit. With the multiple family, they're required to provide recreation space, whereas if they did a site condo, there's no recreation space required, unless it's a PUD or some other cluster zoning. So given that, in the narrow width of the property, I think, there's some opportunity for alleviation from the single-family R1B zoning district here, because it's basically an infill parcel, and it's bound by the commercial district to the west. So with that being said, I think the plan is appropriate at this time. They are willing to provide brick around the first floor, and as far as all the other comments from the fire department, they met that. No, parking on one side of the road is required. Other than that, I think it's a pretty decent plan so far.
Okay, thank you. To the board, are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr.
Mr. Thompson, I don't know if this is related to the parcel, but not directly, I guess. I was out there both on Saturday and Sunday driving by. The driveway that's going to be used to enter into where you want to build your development was filled with cars eating at the restaurant. Is there any way, it's literally, if somebody had to access back there, they wouldn't be able to. So I don't know how that can be addressed, but that was a concern that I saw. I wanted to get in there, but I figured if I got down that road, I wouldn't get back out. That's how congested it was. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it's a concern.
And maybe the developer who is here also developed that commercial site, right?
Yes, he
Still
did.
owns the commercial site?
Yes.
Would you
Same
be
guy.
willing to address that question, because it's a legitimate question? I mean, yeah, it's a nice thing that you have a tenant that's that successful and it's a nice restaurant, but
Sure is.
how are they going to how are these two uses going to coexist? In your name and address too, please.
Damiano De Mercurio, 1120 North Main Street, Rochester, Michigan. Thanks for hearing our proposal. They're just using it for overflow right now. They had asked us, and since there's nothing going on back there, we're allowing it, some of the workers and whatnot, to park back there.
So once it's built, they will no longer use it for overflow?
Correct.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
you'll mark it, you'll put proper signage and well, obviously you'll have to enforce it, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Grott?
I want to echo what Mr. Turner said, because I was there on Saturday as well. Drove by it, and I don't even think we can call that a road leading into that property. It's a driveway. You had cars parked on both sides of the driveway. I couldn't get in. I couldn't get through. God forbids if there's an accident after the property is developed and you got these sardines-like stacked homes. And big truck that we have can't even get in there. Also, I think cul-de-sac would be more appropriate for this development. You got basically fire lane, one-way parking, as far as I understand. Is that correct?
Correct.
One-side parking. I think I will repeat what the planner said. You come a long way from what was originally proposed, but in my opinion, for me to vote for it, you're not there yet. And I'll be more than happy to discuss it any further. I'm the representative from the board, so this is coming to the board still. Mr. Chairman, is that correct?
I believe that's how the law works.
So I'm not gonna support this at all today, and we'll see where we go from here. But you got a little ways to go yet to convince me that I would support your project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would hope that Mr. Grott isn't saying that this board and its process and its decisions are irrelevant to the.
Oh, no,
to the
that's not exact. I just want to know if this issue is coming to the board where I'm going to have one more crack at it,
That's, yes,
just to clarify that.
very good. Is there anyone else that wish to ask a question, offer a comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Make me call on somebody.
There will be signs posted for no parking.
Okay, all right.
Along that street, as the plan had indicated. Mr. Drop.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Turner.
And I agree, it's come a long way, but not necessarily far enough. But since Mr. Grott's going to get another crack at this, what I will do is recommend approval to the Township Board for conditional rezoning petition number 1-20 for parcel number 23-07-03-151-031, Damiano Di Mercurio, for Deluso Building to be rezoned from R1B, one-family residential, to R4, multiple-family low-rise, and preliminary approved site plan number 21-06 for the following reasons. The change in zoning is consistent with the development pattern in the area. The change in zoning would provide a more uniform and consistent development pattern. The rezoning will provide new housing opportunities that accommodate the needs of residents of all stages of life, and the change in zoning will not adversely impact any abutting development.
Is there support?
Support.
Support by, motion by Turner, support by Meredith. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
No.
Commissioner Moore?
No.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Luray?
No.
And the chair votes yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Next item. Site plan number 21-22, special land use. Number 5, Fikri Geju for Pure Trucking. Name and address, please.
Pete Snyder, Urban Land Consultants, 8800 23 Mile Road, Shelby Township, Michigan, representing the applicant, Mr. Jeju, tonight in Pure Trucking. And obviously, you've probably received plenty of stuff on this already. I'm just going to go quickly through the changes that we made since last month when you saw the plan, and be available for any questions. So if you'd permit me here. The first slide, one of the bigger changes, try to use the cursor to point, but it's not working very well. The detention pond at the west end of the site was close to property that was zoned R10, and the prior plan, I came in saying we're going to seek a variance from the screening requirements from that area, but that's not in fact what we've done. We've added the berm and the screening between the industrial and the residential use back there. We've also added over here on the northerly parcel, where it abuts the parcel to the east, we've added a berm and screening there. That area is visually, both at the request of the neighboring property there and because that is visible from Ryan Road, helped to screen the storage area from the back. So those are the two changes. And we also reconfigured the truck parking really as a suggestion, a very good idea actually, that your planner brought up about avoiding situations where trucks must back up in preference of situations where they could pull forward if there was nothing parked in front of them. So those are the changes there. I don't think this highlights one of the other larger changes that we did was propose full concrete parking through the entire southerly parcel and part of the northerly parcel. Again, my client has always sort of preferred parking. He has had certain issues with sites that weren't fully paved before, even though it is quite expensive. So he basically said that entire southerly parcel, he needs to have it paved. I know that's a point of discussion tonight, whether or not the entire site should be paved. And I think I think the applicant, my client, is open to that. And let's see. Next plan, the landscaping plan. Again, you can see the plantings that are on the berms that have been added. I think that's the important thing there. And then with regard to the architecture, which on the front building, come on, actually we have a drawing mount over here on the easel. It's still the same material. This mouse is not working particularly well, but you have the picture over here. I apologize, the public can't see it, but there we go. It's the same material, but it's the color impregnated split face block, but they've added color in certain places to accent it in a way that it was not accented before. And I've seen many industrial buildings in Shelby Township that don't look as good as that. So again, I think visually it's an upgrade from what it was. So those are the changes. Since the plans were turned in, there have been a couple other suggested changes, sort of paving the entire parking area as a way to control dust. And again, I think my client is open to paving the whole thing anywhere that there would be outdoor truck storage. And again, that's quite unusual. Usually you opt for a gravel base with millings on top. But I think for his uses and for who he's shipping for, he absolutely does not want the dirt. And he feels like it'll be much better access for getting the trucks hooked up and out of there. He doesn't want to risk a site delay by having something stuck in, sinking down into the asphalt millings. The other thing, the other suggestion was adding some landscaping on the south side of the driveway so that as you were traveling northbound on Ryan Road, it would screen the building and the front of that building a little bit more. And again, there are no objections to that either. So with that, I'm available for any questions. I should mention, we talked about phasing this site. I know Commissioner Turner brought it up and some other people brought up the idea of maybe phasing this site and bringing it in pieces. My client is open to that as long as the phases are fairly short. However, if you're going to opt to pave the whole thing, it might make more sense just to go with a single phase and get it all built before you allow any parking there at all. So again, I will leave that issue open if there are strong feelings about phasing it, but right now what's submitted back in does not show a phase line.
Okay, thank you. To the planner?
Yes, thank you. So Mr. Snyder gave a very good summary of the changes to the site plan from the last meeting.
I wanted to reiterate some of the concerns that the residents brought up during the last meeting too, to make sure that these are either addressed or can be addressed. Namely, it was preventing nuisance from spilling onto the residential properties in the form of dust, noise, pollution in the form of diesel fumes, increasing traffic congestion along Ryan Road and Auburn Road, particularly in the form of truck traffic, the suitability of Ryan Road and Auburn Road intersections to handle the increased truck traffic. Another concern was making sure that the berm at the front of the site along Ryan Road was installed prior to any construction taking place. The predominant use of the pre-colored split-face concrete block was a point of contention, as was the possibility of phasing out the project to add incremental truck parking to the site. And as Mr. Snyder said, they are aware of the suggestion to add screening along the south property line along the driveway to kind of hide the property from motorists traveling north, as well as possibly paving the entire site to control dust pollution there. With the changes that were on the site plan, the 2 landscaping berms were added to the proposal. This reduces the need for them to request a variance before the Zoning Board of Appeals for that southwest corner of that northerly parcel. It also helps to control a little bit of the nuisance in the form of dust and noise traveling off this site. As Mr. Snyder also said, the parking areas were reconfigured to allow for trucks to pull through the parking spaces wherever possible. This also reduced the amount of truck parking from 245 to 244, so 1 total spot. And the facade of the building did add new coloring to kind of break up the monotony of that blank stone wall. And as also Mr. Snyder discussed, the phasing plan was mentioned between the civil engineer and the developer of the project itself. And the appropriateness is hard to gauge if, adding all the trucks at once with a paved area would be better than phasing out the project, in 2 phases, whether Ryan Road will ever improve to handle the increased truck traffic. Those are all the changes from the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. To the board, any questions or comments?
Mr. Moffett, it's not more of a question, it's a discussion about the committee. We agreed and approved the community planning principles of the Michigan Association of Planning a couple years ago. And one of those principles, I was reading it pretty close, and it said, the citizens, we're here to protect the citizens and their views and their safety while we're on this board. And from what I see with Ryan Road and driving that road and being part of this community, I just can't vote for this. No more trucks on.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to expound on everything I said last time, Mr. Snyder, but I did express reservations with this. The building looks nice, the berming is great, but, and it's a pretty big but, I have to look at this in terms of how this fits in the township under the special land use standards. And again, it's just myself, one commissioner, in my opinion. And I'll read some of these. The proposed use shall be of such location, size, and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood. To me, that's a no. The proposed use shall be of a nature that will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than normal. To me, that's a no. The proposed use shall be designed as to the location, size, intensity, layout, and periods of operation of any such use proposed to eliminate any possible nuisance. To me, that's again a no. The proposed use is so designated, located, planned, and operated that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Possibly yeah, possibly no. But, and that this has to pass all 8 of these standards. And I've been giving this a lot of thought since we had our last meeting. I drive Ryan Road every day. There's no possibility that road's ever going to be widened or beyond what it is now in the near future, probably not the rest of my lifetime. And quite frankly, I could not in good faith, and I certainly appreciate what your client wants to do and give the commitment of development to this community. It comes down to 2 words, in my mind, intensity and location. And I could not look at people in this area in the eye with a straight face, because I live in this area. I've lived here 31 years. And tell them, perhaps a year from now, 2 years from now, 6 months from now, we goofed. The traffic in the area on this Ryan Road is just too much for the residents who live there and for the people who travel in the area. So I cannot support this, and I'm just, I wish I could because of the commitment to the community, but I really can't in good conscience do that.
So I would like to respond in one way. You have master planned that area for transportation industrial, and I have brought as elite a representative of that use to your township to make a submittal. And you're going to say no to what you've master planned and what you've said is supposed to go there, okay? I think if you're going to do that, you need to make a strong commitment to change that master plan and change it quick, because there are people out there, and again, this applicant is probably about as great an applicant in that business, transportation industrial, as you're going to see. His trucks are 7 years old or less. They've got the emission controls on them. He's parking it 500, 600 feet back away from the residential. His fleet is worth $25, $30 million, and he wants to bring it here, make a $10 million investment in that property because you master planned it as transportation industrial. He wants to come here and do what the township master plan says that it wants there. And you're going to say no, and somebody's going to come in with this something else. I get calls. I just got a call again today from a trucking use wanting to come to Shelby. I'm going to tell them no. Shelby doesn't want you.
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. What I'm suggesting, and again, I'm just one voice. And I'm just suggesting that the location and the intensity of all of that parking of those trailers, and I know you say it's not going to be an in and out operation all the time, but you've got 240 some parking spaces, and you know that there's going to be trailers parked there. They're not going to be empty spaces.
Yeah. And we've talked, you've seen the traffic report. Again, the traffic consultant's estimating a total daily flow from this site of like 277 vehicles, okay? Of which I've told you, you're going to have 20 trucks-ish, okay? A lot of that's just passenger traffic, okay? That's not even, the source of the issues on Ryan Road doesn't originate with any of the users on Ryan Road. There's, in the peak 4 hours, there's like 5,000 plus vehicles coming through Auburn and Ryan, okay? We're talking about, if all of those 270 traffic, trips hit in the peak hours, that's a 5% ding, and they're not. They're going to be spread over the entire workday. Again, I just feel like, look, y'all master planned that area. You got 100 or so acres, I don't know how many, I'm going to guess, 100 plus acres there, master planned for transportation industrial. And I'm bringing you about the best user you can for that, and you're about to say no.
I have no doubt that your client is a fantastic trucking company. I'm not suggesting that at all, that he's not. Again, I don't know how the commission's going to go. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in a year from now I'll be saying, well, I made a wrong decision. But again, I'm just one person with one vote, and unless somebody on the commission, feel free to speak up, can convince me otherwise, that's just how I feel.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grotto.
Okay. Mr. Turner, you are absolutely correct. It's a beautiful development, no doubt. It just doesn't fit in that area. I mean, I love to have these folks in Shelby somewhere where we can find a home for them. I love you guys. I love to have you guys, but not in this area. We would be doing a total disservice to these folks here, the residents. They invest in their community, they invest in their homes. That's their life possession. It is very unfortunate whoever planned out this kind of layout where you got a heavy industrial site on one side, you got a little road going through, and then you got residential. Where do we find a common ground here? We can't. It's impossible. So yes, we're going to be looking into master plan, and yes, we need to make some changes. Whatever we're dealing with happened before, way before us. I mean, way, way before us. Folks, it's just poor planning, but somebody did it. Somebody did it. I'm sure when you were buying your homes, you look at an open area across the road, and it looked good back then. But now, we're running out of space in Shelby. We need beautiful homes in Shelby Township. We don't have nice homes in Shelby Township. Industrial, like I said, we take it. We take it, but this is too dense. This is too dramatic for that area. And until Ryan Road is built up, expanded, I cannot, in clear conscience, to support it, Mr. Snyder. So I thank you. You're representing your client well. You're fighting. You're putting up fight, which I appreciate. But it's just
You told me to bring him here. Your master plan says transportation industrial. If you don't want him here, find a place for him, or they're going somewhere else. That's, you know, I represent lots of clients for lots of different things, and I do my best for all of them. But the fault here is not me, and it's not my client.
And it's not us.
It's your master plan.
Well, and it's not us, so what I suggest, you check with Miss Julie there tomorrow morning and come back and see if we can find you a home, but not in that area. It will not, it's just not gonna go. So, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We arrange it
All right, so having grown up in this area since 1973, you know, Ryan Road is the exact same Ryan Road I used to ride my bicycle on to go to there was a toy, like a hobby shop on Auburn Road, if anyone's been here long enough that remembers that. So we used to go get the rockets. And all up and down there was bad planning decisions, was from the the landfill with the PBB, PCBs issues, if you remember those, the cows that got buried there, to which someone we know helped break that story, right? To the landfill, to the dumps, to the so there's contamination all the way up from Auburn Road all the way down. And if it wasn't contaminated, it was a gravel pit. It was a zero water-tabled gravel pit. So if we don't, so it does make sense. The problem is Ryan Road doesn't accommodate the traffic, and that's a huge issue. But if not, uses like this, and then I strongly encourage folks to get involved in the master plan, especially the folks that live in this area, because it's the most challenging area by far within the township. And frankly, it's the area with the most opportunity for redevelopment. But we got to figure, okay, how can we do this? Everyone's sort of working together, because it's in your interest too. Because you don't want to look, it's a dirt bowl that comes blowing, you know, across the tundra at your, you know, to your houses, and you have to deal with all the nuisances that those, okay, but what is it what do we want there, okay? Again, we represent 80,000 people that live in this township, so everybody, we represent everybody, but specifically in these areas, obviously, we need to listen to the folks that live there. But you got to be involved in this, and it's to say, well, we don't want that. I'd rather nothing be there. I don't know that that's an option that any of us have. Frankly, if that were the option back in 1973 when my family moved out here, a lot of folks wouldn't be living here. A lot of things wouldn't have been developed. A lot of roads wouldn't be here. I can tell you all kinds of stories of the problems I got into as a kid. But my boys are all gone and out of the house. I can speak freely now. But so. Yeah, I think we kind of get a sense to where this issue may be going, because it's a lot, okay? And it's a lot on that infrastructure, okay? But at some point, we need to embrace something, that there needs to be progress there, okay? Because there's a lot of good that can be done by finding ways to remediate a lot of the contamination is there. So. All right, I'm done preaching. Does anyone else want to say anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I will make a motion to recommend to the Township Board denial of site plan number 21-22 SLU 5, Pure Trucking, 47861 Ryan Road, located on the west side of Ryan Road, north of Auburn Road, outdoor truck storage with wash and repair facility for the following reasons. It has not been demonstrated that the surrounding road network has the capacity to handle increased truck traffic that would be generated as a result of this proposal. The proposal cannot be harmoniously developed in relationship to the adjacent residential properties to protect the health, safety, and welfare. And the use itself may be appropriate according to the zoning district and master plan designation for the property. The intensity of the use, however, unnecessarily burdens the surrounding properties and street network.
Support.
Second.
Moved by Turner, support by Moore. Are there any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Loray?
Yes.
Commissioner Apone?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Chair votes no. Okay. Good luck. The next item, Planning Director's report.
I don't have anything, Chairman Moffett.
There is do you have an opportunity for 3 minutes from the floor if anyone wants to exercise that opportunity? Okay.
That's why I'm making that, but.
I'd like to thank you all for taking all of our information and doing the right thing with it. And a lot of your comments that you made are well appreciated. We know that we need development there. We need something. We don't want to look at a vacant land or a dust bowl, but we need the right thing in there. And of course, we've been fighting these trucking companies all along, and we know that's not the right thing to be in there. And I hope you take all this information that all these wonderful people have given you and what we've set up here for the next trucking company that's going to try and come in here, because you know that's going to happen again. So thank you very much for all of your consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Handbright. I live at 4119 West Point Court in Shelby. I live in the Clear Spring Lake subdivision. In addition to that, I've lived there 2 years, but in addition to that, I own the Cardinal Insurance Agency for over 20 years, and our agency insured many, many residential home builders that built homes in this city. In fact, our agency insured the builders that built Phase 1 and 2 in the Clear Spring Lake sub, so I'm very familiar with that development. And I just want to bring one thing to your attention. I do not, Garrett Homes, the builder that's building in Clear Spring Lake now, was not one of my former clients, and I do not represent them, but I do want to make you aware of something. Garrett Homes is developing the last phase of Clear Spring Lake, which, as you probably know, is at 23 and Ryan. Those lots in there, they've got 50 lots in there, and those houses are going to average about $1 million a house. That's $50 million in property values that this city, Shelby Township, is going to collect taxes on. So when I hear this gentleman say, well, I'm bringing you a $10 million client here. That pales in comparison to what's going to happen in our subdivision when all those houses get built. And you're going to tell me that if you bring in a trucking company on that road, and people who hear about this new subdivision with all these beautiful houses in there are trying to get to the sub to see those houses, and they can't get up there because there's 10 semi-trucks on the street blocking their way to get up Ryan Road to see that development. So whatever you do decide to do in the future, and I applaud your decision tonight. I think you did the right thing. I think you care about the residents, and I'm proud to now live in Shelby Township. I love it. But when you go forward in the future and other people bring other things to you to consider for that land, please consider what's going on with somebody else who's bringing you $50 million in property values that you're going to get taxes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please sign in.
Oh, sir, can you sign in, please?
Sir?
Sir? You sign in. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Lorian, 8268 East Pearson. I'm here in regards to what was agenda item number 2, the rezoning of the property between East Pearson and Crawford. First, I'd like to confirm that each of you received and read an email from Jeanette Kowalski today. She had some very good points on our behalf as well. As we've reminded this developer, who could not even stick around to listen to our concerns, who doesn't even live in this township, he's had this property since before 2017. Property in question is and was purchased as R1B, which again is exactly what the master plan calls for. He knew what he bought. He insists the property cannot be developed R1B, yet he continues to present fewer and fewer detached condos. If his plan can be reduced from 36 units to tonight's 16, why can he not bring it down to R1B levels? I'm sorry, I'm very emotional about this. He can develop it, he just doesn't want to lose the money. I'm thankful to hear that you all went by and saw the horrific traffic jams yesterday. 11:30, 1:30, 3:45, double parked down the road that would be into these condos. I only have a little 2016 Jeep Cherokee, not the big fancy ones. I could not even get between these cars. How could a fire truck? The detention pond that is currently there still has not been fenced or landscaped as y'all told him to do a couple years ago. And he defiantly has not done that. I understand somebody said, oh, it's a good thing he didn't fence it in because he'd have to pay now to take it all out. So he was told by all of you to do it. And you just let him get away with it. I wouldn't let a kid do it. I'm not sure if you all are aware, during the construction of the C1 up on Van Dyke, I called and reported at least 8 times of construction going on Sunday afternoons. Again, total defiant of Shelby Township laws and rules. I sat across the street at the now Beaumont Urgent Care, 25 minutes waiting for a Shelby Township patrol car to come by. And then he still continued to work another 20 minutes after that officer left. That's not trying to even be a good neighbor. Almost 40 years ago when I purchased my property, I knew my property was R1B. I never petitioned to change the zoning. I never wanted to open a dog grooming studio or a hair salon. I bought R1B, I brought in plans for R1B, that's what I built. Also at that time, Shelby Township's law was, or ordinance, 15 foot between the house and the property line. He did do better this time, he's got 9 foot. Still not what I had to adhere to. It was good enough for me 38 years ago. Why is it not good enough now? For almost 40 years, I've known the property behind me, between Pearson and Crawford, would be developed. Single-family homes was always expected because it was R1B. Never did we anticipate condos would go in. Also, the property in question has always been considered, in my kids' words, the swamp, due to the high water table. My kids could not even walk through the backyards to play with their friends on the street behind us because of sinking in the swamp. They weren't afraid of the animals, it was the swamp. Again, the issue we as homeowners on Pearson and Crawford is that he knew what he purchased. Buyer's remorse doesn't buy it.
Okay, ma'am, we've exceeded your 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
He needs to stop and think about how it affects our lives. That's who he's hurting, because he doesn't even live here.
Will you please sign in?
Hi, my name's Danielle Godoba, and I live at 47791 Greenview Road, Shelby Township. And I would like to know how I get involved in the master plan.
Woman down there, or the gentleman sitting next to her.
Because you said we should get involved, so then,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The master
Please.
plan expires next year, so we're going to be making some revisions to it, and we will notify the residents once we start that process.
Okay.
And it'll
then-
be published in the paper on our website.
So do you come to
So-
meetings, or do you, okay. All right, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ned Budd. I live at 47730 Greenview, so I would have been directly downwind from this property. So I just want to applaud your decisions tonight. There's just a couple talking points that I had, just maybe going forward in the future. Nobody really talked about the health and safety aspect of the fire station number 2 that sits there and the possible response times that could have been impacted by the extra traffic. You know, I called and talked to a gentleman there today, and he said, you know, that could create an issue. So going forward with property development in the area, I know there's traffic studies, but we also have that station that's pretty locked up during that time, and to add those semis to the area would have been detrimental, I believe. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about is I'm also I'm certified in dangerous and hazardous goods, and I also work for a Tier 1. So I remember Mr. Snyder was talking about, you know, it's not going to be hazardous waste and stuff like that, but I also know what comes in and out of automotive facilities. And it becomes hazardous waste when it falls off their trucks across from my house and hits the ground. That's when it becomes hazardous waste. So I had that concern automatically of what they're storing and stuff. So again, I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know how to put this. We, at least my family, we know we live in the most affordable area of Shelby that there is. And I was scared that we were going to have to bear the brunt of it, because if the wind was blowing the other way, I don't think it would have been a consideration into Rochester. So I'm glad to see that they stood up for the little people, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you please sign in?
Sir, can you sign in? And for the record, we don't care about those people in Rochester either. Back in the, yeah.
What I've given you, I'm sorry, my name is Bill Spitz, 8300 East Pearson, regarding the second on the agenda with Dean Mercurio, his development idea. I cannot believe, first of all, we weren't allowed to speak before you voted. I am appalled. This is completely new. It's not revised. I don't know how you consider revised or reviewed. I don't understand. But you voted before we got to speak. He bought R1B, okay? I know of no area in Shelby Township that allows R4 between two residential R1B streets. You may want to all look into that, okay? I am just appalled. They've never completed their obligations that they started in the first phase of this project. Again, I'm going to read as far as the fencing and the fountains and et cetera. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but somebody here stated to a neighbor of mine that the township does have flooding issues. Are we aware of all the flooding issues in our township? Those are the pictures I showed you, that we're getting flooded out with what we have now. And if you add more to that cannon drain, we're going to be flooded out. Okay? There's no reason to have 16 homes over behind us. Recently on the news, they talked about wetlands are like a sponge. And when you get rid of the wetlands, what happens? We got rid of wetlands when they put in Home Depot. What do you think's affecting our property now? Now you want to add in an R4 between two R1B residential streets. I totally disagree. We can't afford that kind of density in that location. Those pictures I showed you, the drain can't handle. And they want a smaller retention pond so they can get more homes in. I don't see how that's going to work. I'm going to hold all of you responsible. When we get flooded out, those of you that voted in favor of this will be held accountable for any damages done to my property. And as far as a $460,000 home, those pictures didn't look like it unless they're living in California, because I can't see that being built there. Any rate, please, I don't know what can be done at this point, but I would like it to be stopped.
So if you could sign in, please, back on the end.
Hello, Paul Backus, 8400 East Pearson Street. My concern is with the Damiano development at Cherry Blossom. And I got, I had the same concerns as everybody else. But I guess there was no road study as far as the amount of cars that are going to come in. They're figuring 2 cars per condo. There's going to be more than 2 cars. Parking on the street, one side, I don't know how that, and then getting in and out of there. So last meeting, I know they talked about traffic study. And as far as I know, when I came today and checked on it, there was no traffic study. It's already really busy since Kroger's came in. It's kind of a nightmare getting in and out of there. My other big concern is that retention or detention pond. A detention pond's not supposed to have water in it 24/7. What they have there currently holds water 24/7. On their plan, it shows a smaller detention pond that's literally deeper than the outlet. So where's that water going to go? It's not going to detain, it's going to retain water all the time. And then you're going to have, we already have a bigger mosquito problem with what's there now. And the other thing that really bothers me is they have never finished the plan that they started. They never fenced in anything. They never put trees anywhere. Just behind the main building they put on the front there was supposed to be a line of trees or a line of arborvitaes, and they put like 6 pine trees. So what makes you think that they're going to follow through with anything they say they're going to do? Because somebody allows them to get away with it. I live right by that pond, and people lose their dogs. The dogs go running in the pond. The kids are chasing after the dogs. Somebody's going to get hurt. And if that's retaining water all the time, it's going to be a muddy mess, and somebody's going to go in, and then everybody's going to be wondering why we didn't do anything before some poor kid or animal gets injured. So my biggest concern is, I don't know if you looked at that detention pond, but what they're proposing is quite a bit deeper than where the outlet is. So I just don't see how it's going to be a detention pond instead of a retention pond. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope you guys can somehow direct a better development, because I think that's way too dense. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and Mr. Grodd had mentioned this earlier, we are just a recommending body on these 3 issues. So our recommendations, all 3 recommendations, will be forwarded on to the Board of Trustees. Ultimately, they will make the final decisions on each one of these. So there will be you will have an opportunity when those items come before that body to offer your comments and concerns. I mean, they will review all the discussions and the meetings that we've had on this issue, but then there will be that additional opportunity. Okay, ma'am.
My name is Linda Palumbo, 8255 Crawford. I'm on the south side of I can't pronounce this name, on Agenda 2. If you could come into my yard, my backyard, you can't walk in it. I can't cut the lawn sometimes for 2 months. I wish Mr. DiMercurio would have stayed here and listened to my concerns. If he changes the elevation, the topography of that land, and it is higher than mine and my neighbors, we all have swamps. This is our biggest concern. We all have bought at least 2 sub pumps a year trying to keep the water under control. They have changed our ditches. Finally, they've fixed those, but they still fill up. And the topography on that land, if he changes that elevation with that many houses, with that many basements, we are going to flood out. Now, I've lived there 47 years. I knew something was going to go back there. I figured it would be R1B. That's what I bought. And now he's going to add more stress on us, just living there. What is this going to be another, I think it was over on, at Bear Lake or over on DeQuinder, between DeQuinter and Ryan, when all those people kept losing their sub pumps because of what they built in there. So this is our concern, our main concern. I don't want to reiterate what everybody else has said, but I do agree with them too. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let me recommend that you contact the planning department, and they can share with you what the requirements are for anybody who does any development within the township or frankly anywhere, as to what they have to, what's required of them on the water. So.
1 foot up and they're going to.
Well, again, I don't want to get into the conversation, but you should talk to them. So, was there anyone else? All right, sir.
Hi, I'm Russell D., 46264 Moto View Drive, relative to Proposal 3. Thank you very much. You're spot on. Those roads are not meant for semis. I don't care if the next guy comes in and says, oh, I only want 100 spaces, or I have 5-year-old and newer trucks. I was driving down Ryan Road heading south, trying to turn left onto Auburn, and had a semi about come head on because that intersection, he had a green arrow, but he can't make the turn. It's just too narrow. It is not meant for semis. So you guys are spot on. I appreciate you voting no, and I would like to see a lot less semi-traffic in that area until those roads are widened and the intersections are improved.
Okay, thank you, sir. Was there anyone else? Okay, sir.
Good evening. My name is Lyle Turner. I live on 8312 Willow Avenue. I've been in the house I'm in for the last 23 years. The development that they're trying to put in there, our road cannot handle 2-car wide driving down now. When they put in these condos, if they decide to do this, that'll add 48 more vehicles trying to get onto Willow Avenue. We cannot support, our road cannot support that. Number 2, at the street across where they put the big subdivision on Old Ford Field, they are putting a street light there. When that street light is finished, we will not be able to turn left anymore out of Willow Avenue. Because of the way it is confounded, when that red light goes red and we try to turn left, all the Van Dyke southbound traffic will be stopped. There is no possible way we can get out onto Van Dyke Avenue anymore. And if you add another 48 to 50 cars to that, we'll never get out of Willow Avenue. Number 3 that we have as a concern as our neighborhood is that many condos on that little bit of property. If you drive down Willow right now, you'll see there's only 3 or 4 2-story houses or any kind of building like that. We are all small, 1,200, 1,300 or less houses on the street. And when you're adding all these more houses, or condos, it's going to be tough. And the last thing I have is for the cars parking. Like you stated, there's no way they can park 1 car in that garage or 2 cars in that garage. So they're going to be parking on Willow Ray. I've had 3 graduation parties over the last 6 years. I have to put signs up on Willow Ray so my company will only park on one side. And when a fire truck comes down, because we have multiple fire trucks weekly coming down our street, they can't hardly get by with cars parked on that street. So if they're going to add more cars parked at that entrance where they're going to be parking, there's no way a fire truck's going to get down there on a speedy basis. And what I love what you said about the turnaround in there for a fire truck, it ain't going to work. There's just no room in there for that. So those are the concerns that my neighbors and I have, and I'm representing a few of my neighbors. And again, I'm Lyle Turner. I want to thank you for your time and your concerns. And I thank you for what you said about how it's going to be impossible to get in there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good sign. Okay, sir.
My name is Jim Williams. I also live on Willow Ray, 8416. I pretty much mirror the same things that he said. I don't think anybody would mind having single-family housing put there, but to put, 24 condos, it's just too much. My personal opinion. I did go around last year to every neighbor in the neighborhood, and I had 72 people sign a petition against this, if we could do anything against it. And I do have 19 points of of the concerns that we have. I don't know if you guys got that. I did send it out last year. I don't know if you guys had a chance to, if you had it. Okay, so I still have it if you want it, but.
It was in our packet, so we
Okay.
we have,
Okay.
so, and it'll probably continue to be in our packet.
Okay.
If they come back again.
Okay. I feel like, again, like I say, no one would mind housing being there, but it's just, again, it's too much.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then
Sign
here,
in.
sir. Oh, sir, can you sign in, yeah?
Tom Gilbo, 50551 Gravel Ridge. Excuse me. I just want to thank everyone. I've been here a couple times about the trucking places on Ryan Road. Although I live off 23, I see a lot of truck traffic. That would have made a lot of trucks going down 23 Mile to get on the Van Dyke Expressway. I'm sure of it. I just want to say thank you for everything and do something about tower recycling now.
So I deliver free press papers on Gravel Ridge.
Will you
so
please sign
that's,
in? Sir?
Worst job I ever had. Go ahead, sir. That-
Thank you for your time. My name's Ryan Nicely. I live at 8229 Willow Ray. My house is actually on the north side of Willow Ray, and it directly bumps into the property that is trying to be developed. As you have already mentioned, it's a very aggressive proposal, and I echo a lot of the same concerns that my neighbors do, and I think you representatives also have some of the same concerns. I hope that, my concern is that down the line, the developer that is, may try to decrease the number of units, still try for that R2 zoning, I believe. Again, it's zoned for single family, which nobody has an issue with. I'm a first responder in the township here, and just some insight as to a typical run. From a low-grade medical, you could have anywhere from one utility vehicle to a single ambulance and a single fire truck, and that's for strictly a medical. For a more serious issue, you could have 2 or 3 trucks alone. You could have up to 6 police officers. And I appreciate you bringing up the question about the general design, why the entrance can't come off Van Dyke. I don't know. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I think you guys are well informed and again, share a lot of the same concerns that we do. So, but thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Okay. We got everybody? Going once, twice? All right. Mr. Snyder?
Move to adjourn.
Is there support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.